If you've ever got that dreaded email from Amazon that your book has been blocked, please stay tuned. Let's talk about the reasons why this happens. And you might be asking, like, how do you actually know? I've had over 150 books blocked in my KDP account. I have published over 504. So I have learned so much from publishing. I've written down the questions you guys have asked. And so now we're going to go ahead and talk about it. Thank you for pressing play. Please comment what your experience with block books. Please like this video so it can push it out to other people that may be struggling with an account suspension or account termination. Now, if you've got that dreaded email that your book has been blocked, if it is not trademark related, Amazon will usually give you 5 to 7 business days to clear it up. So the first thing that you want to do is, number one, understand the reason for it being blocked. Check your email and always respond to KDP support, whether it's content guidelines team or quality assurance, whatever the email is, whatever happens, reply as fast as you can so they have a log track of that you actually care about your account. Another thing that you can do, which Amazon has rolled out in the past 8 months, is look in your KDP dashboard for quality control. When you click on this, you can see if any issues are not resolved. Now, sometimes when Amazon blocks your book, they need more information about it. So perhaps you used a third-party website to do a photograph, right? You need to include that in the cover that you actually have copyright to put that book out. A lot of people have asked me, like, Jenny, what is the difference between copyright and commercial release? The difference is commercial release means that the original owner is giving you permission to make money off of their artwork. Copyright means you actually own the artwork to do it. That's the tricky thing about Canva, is if you go to Canva's terms and conditions, they give everybody commercial release, and that's a glorious thing, right? We all have pro accounts, it's so great. But if you look in the fine print, Canva does not give copyright ownership over their elements. They require you to use other elements together, and they also say that you cannot claim copyright over elements that are then used on print-on-demand sites. Print-on-demand sites is like Printful, Printify, Redbubble. Amazon KDP actually claims themselves as a print-on-demand book store. One of the reasons why is because they don't print the books until they get a sell. That is a really important aspect for you to know when you are publishing so your book doesn't get blocked. So that's the most important thing, is that you are following the rules and you're going to answer that email the first time you get it. The second reason your book might be blocked is because of the content guidelines. We talked about copyright. The other thing is plagiarism. If your book has been reported, or if you are copying things off the internet and putting it into your book, that is actually against US law to plagiarize. And so your book will be blocked immediately. You cannot put explicit content in your book. So anything that's pornographic or anything inappropriate of sexual nature that does not fit a genre, they just don't even deal with explicit content. The only exception to that is maybe if you had written words. But anything that is explicit outside of that, they just don't want to get in that gray area. And so you need to make sure that your book doesn't have any of that inside of it. Another thing to look out for is if you are using keywords incorrectly. This is one of the number one reasons why Amazon will block your book. If you're just focusing on low content books, journals, planners, diaries, something very simple with repeated pages, but you're actually describing the book as something more than that, then that breaks the content guidelines, and Amazon will simply block the book without you even fixing it. In some of the previous videos, people asked, what can we do if we know our book is jeopardizing and breaking these rules? Can we get Amazon to unpublish it? The best thing to do is to be proactive and don't break the rules in the first place. If you see that your book is breaking the rules, you can unpublish it before Amazon does an audit and finds these things, or before a customer has a bad experience and leaves a bad review on your book or reports it. Okay, so now we know, like, number one is understand the reasons. Number two is review the guidelines to make sure you understand the rules so you don't break it again. And 3 is make the necessary corrections quickly. So when this happened to me in 2023, I was using a pro element photo and I did not own copyright over it. So everything that I sent to the Amazon KDP support team, they said this was not good enough and they blocked the book. That book has made me $37,000. So Do you know what I did? I went to the fabric store and I bought fabric that reminded me of the photograph, and I simply built like a scenery. Think of like a beach, right? Like beach photos. I created something for the backdrop. So that way I could use this mermaid coloring book, but I was the one that did all of the drawings and all those things. So just think about that. And for example, if you do use photographs, make sure that you have the copyright. And the interesting thing about Canva is all the artists are third party. You can actually reach out to them individually and set up a copyright agreement that you can actually own copyright of a photo. It's usually between $200 and $600. If I would have known that beforehand, I would have reached out and made that agreement. So then when Amazon blocked my book, for this book that's made $37,000, I could have showed them that the artist gave me permission to use their photograph for this book. There's a lot you can do once your book starts selling to really protect it. All right, so if you think that your book was blocked by error, then when you contact KDP, be very kind. Do not be a victim. Do not accuse them. Let them know you always follow content guidelines, okay? In the description of this video, I have a link for KDP termination tips that will be dropping, and so you can share your experience there with anything that may have happened for your account. If you think some of your books were blocked and it's not correct, you don't think that it's right, you could reach out to an attorney. When I was on my way to that first $20,000 a month mark and my top selling books got blocked, that's when I reached out to my attorney for the first time and met him and told him the situation, and he said he was willing to send a legal document to Amazon to get the account reinstated. And we didn't have to go that far. What I did is I actually hired him to copyright my books to protect them, because it would have made my case stronger than just sending a letter. And so that's what we did. And then I let them know that my copyright processes were in process for over 150 covers of my book. And so using legal helped me a little bit, but now that I have been through this experience, I will go back to those first things, to always reply to the emails quickly and just make sure that you're keeping your account safe. So if I recently had someone reach out to me, they used the name of a band in the title and subtitle. Okay, so some of those things are trademarked. We cannot breach that. The really tricky thing about trademark is when you violate trademark, Amazon is more likely to terminate your account than to block a book. While my account is still making thousands of dollars a month, I've had to rebuild up my library, and those block books will never make me money again. They do not even show up as out of availability. There are some that do show up that show that they're not available anymore. But I think that's really important to remember when we're talking about blocked books and how to unblock a book with Amazon KDP. Always better to be preventative. It's always better to create a great book. Another thing that might happen is a customer might say it's misleading, right? That metadata could really ruin your book. So if you find a keyword in demand, you're excited about it, make sure your book matches that. Please tell me your experiences in the comments. You don't have to feel embarrassed or shamed about it. This happens so much to so many different people. The content guidelines do need to be studied, and the interpretation of them is there for us to keep our account safe. So if you're not sure, ask your questions here, but then also make sure that you're staying up to date with those terms and conditions. I'll see you in the next video.